In the land of pyramids and endless sand dunes, where the Nile flows like a life-giving artery, the pharaohs ruled as both sovereigns and gods. From the founding of the Old Kingdom around 2700 BC to the reign of Cleopatra VII in the 1st century BC, these divine rulers commanded absolute power, wrapped in the aura of their sacred status. They were the embodiment of Horus, revered as celestial figures who stood between mortals and the gods. However, beneath the glittering facade of golden sarcophagi and monumental pyramids lay a far darker reality. A world of intrigue, corruption, and unspeakable secrets that have remained buried for centuries. As Heraclitus once said, character is destiny. For the pharaohs, their divine identity shaped an extraordinary yet tumultuous legacy that's still shrouded in mystery. Join us as we peel back the cloak of ancient Egypt to uncover the hidden truths of a society that welded divine glory with mortal catastrophe. Decoding the opulence of ancient Egyptian royal tombs. Throughout the vast expanse of Egypt's desert sands, the brilliance of royal tombs has fascinated historians and archaeologists for centuries. The ancient Egyptians believed that the afterlife was just as important as life on Earth, and to ensure a smooth transition, they surrounded their rulers with luxury and opulence, even in death. The Great Pyramid of Giza, built for Pharaoh Khufu around 2589–2566 BC, stands as a testament to Egypt's architectural genius. Towering and enigmatic, Khufu's tomb was not just a burial site, but a symbol of his eternal power. Originally clad in shining white limestone, the pyramid gleamed like a colossal gemstone under the scorching Egyptian sun. Inside, elaborate passageways and thick granite blocks were carefully designed to protect the pharaoh from tomb raiders, ensuring his safe journey into the afterlife. However, it was the discovery of King Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922 that truly captured the world's imagination. Despite being a minor pharaoh, Tut's tomb was filled with staggering riches. 5,000 artifacts, including his iconic gold death mask, adorned with precious stones. These treasures revealed the lengths the ancient Egyptians went to ensure immortality. Mummification, a very meticulous process that could take up to 70 days, preserved the body for the soul's journey. Pharaohs were buried with grave goods, everything from food and clothing to chariots and statues of servants, ensuring they were never alone in the afterlife. Some pharaohs even mummified their beloved pets. Each tomb, each artifact, tells a story of devotion, belief, and a timeless desire for eternity. Whispers of the Nile, the dark side of ancient Egyptian royalty. Behind the opulent facades of ancient Egyptian palaces, where golden statues and grandiose tombs stood, lurked a world far darker than anyone could imagine. The pharaohs, revered as gods, were not immune to the ruthless power struggles that stained their reigns. Beneath the shimmering veneer of divine authority, scandal, betrayal, and conspiracy thrived within the royal court. One of the most chilling examples of this was the infamous harem conspiracy against Ramesses III, the last great ruler of Egypt's new kingdom. In 1186 BCE, Queen Tai, one of his secondary wives, conspired with the royal court to assassinate the pharaoh and place her son, Pentaur, on the throne. A plot born of ambition and desperation, the assassination was discovered too late. Ramesses III met his end at the hands of assassins, marking the beginning of the fall of Egypt's golden age. His death revealed the fragility of absolute power and the dangerous games played behind the palace walls. But the darkness didn't end with Ramesses III. Pharaohs like Akhenaten and Cleopatra VII too were engulfed in a web of political intrigue. From incestuous marriages to religious upheaval, these rulers built their power on a foundation of secrets, alliances, and ruthless ambition. The glory of ancient Egypt was, after all, built upon the shadows of its royal intrigues. Divine adornment, the eccentric beauty rituals of ancient Egyptian royalty. The royal beauty rituals of ancient Egypt were far more than mere vanity. They were deeply intertwined with the pharaoh's divine status and power. These eccentric practices not only served to enhance physical allure, but also reinforced the ruler's connection to the gods. Ancient Egyptian royalty, revered as living deities, went to extraordinary lengths to maintain an image of divine perfection. Makeup was a hallmark of royal beauty. Both men and women, including the pharaohs, used kohl to darken their eyes. This dark powder, made from crushed minerals like galena and malachite, wasn't just cosmetic. It was believed to protect the eyes from the harsh desert sun and ward off evil spirits. The Egyptians were masters of scent as well, using perfumes crafted from myrrh, lotus, and frankincense, a practice that signified both luxury and divine favor. Pharaohs and their consorts anointed themselves with these fragrant oils during religious ceremonies, seeking to invoke the gods' blessings. The use of wigs was another defining feature of Egyptian royal beauty. Often made from human hair, these wigs were not just fashionable but practical, helping to keep the head cool and free from lice. Some wigs were even adorned with gold beads or jewels, a visual testament to the pharaoh's wealth and stature. Perhaps the most fascinating beauty ritual involved the use of scented cones made from animal fat. Placed atop wigs during royal feasts, these cones slowly melted, releasing intoxicating aromas throughout the evening, a powerful symbol of the pharaoh's divine allure. Ancient Egyptian royal harems. Behind the grand stone walls of Egypt's palaces, where luxury and power coexisted, there was a hidden world of political maneuvering, passion, and scandal: the royal harem. This was not just a collection of pretty ladies, but a carefully orchestrated environment where power dynamics were as intense as the pharaoh's rule itself. Here, pleasure and politics were intimately intertwined. At the heart of the harem stood the great royal wife, who held unparalleled influence over the kingdom. Her position as the mother of the heir was crucial to the political stability of Egypt, but her power was not without rivals. Beneath her were the lesser wives and concubines, women vying for the pharaoh's favor and control over the royal court. Nefertiti, the powerful wife of Akhenaten, exemplified this, wielding considerable political and religious influence as her husband's co-regent. Concubines, often from foreign lands or captured during military campaigns, also held sway, their status depending on the pharaoh's favor. The story of Queen Tai, Akhenaten's mother, showcases the rise of a concubine to power, securing the position of great royal wife and influencing Egypt's diplomatic affairs. The eunuchs, castrated men serving as protectors and administrators within the harem, played vital roles too, sometimes rising to positions of trust and authority. The most famous example of a eunuch's power was Senenmut, the chief steward to Pharaoh Hatshepsut, whose closeness to the queen sparked rumors of a deeper connection. These eunuchs, loyal only to the pharaoh, were pivotal in maintaining order within this world of intrigue. But as the harem conspiracy against Ramesses III reveals, the royal harem was a breeding ground for treachery. The hunger for power was so great that it could turn family members against each other, leading to betrayal and murder, all within the shadow of the pharaoh's palace. The royal harem, a place of pleasure, was equally a place of danger, where the line between loyalty and ambition was perilously thin. Feasting with the gods. The pharaohs of ancient Egypt didn't just rule over vast lands. They lived in a world of excess and luxury, where their meals were as grand as their palaces. Their feasts were not just about sustenance, but also a display of divine power and opulence. Pharaohs enjoyed an extravagant diet that featured an array of foods, many of which were unavailable to the common people. Meat, beef, mutton, and duck was abundant on their tables, often served in lavish platters. The Nile provided a wealth of fish, and Egypt's riverside bounty meant fish like tilapia, catfish, and perch were regular parts of royal meals. Even more rare was the consumption of wild game like gazelle, hunted specifically for the pharaohs. The grain-based staples of bread and beer also featured prominently at the royal table. But it wasn't just any bread. Pharaohs were served sweetened varieties flavored with dates and honey. As for dessert, their tastes were nothing short of divine. They indulged in fruit tarts, honey cakes, and pastries, often flavored with exotic spices. Meals were washed down with a variety of wines, with the highest quality reserved only for the royal court. These feasts weren't just about eating, they were events, where the pharaoh showcased their grandeur, and their food was a powerful symbol of their divine reign. The curious medical practices and healing rituals of ancient Egyptian royalty. In the world of bygone Egypt, medicine was plied with mysticism, particularly when it came to the health of the pharaohs. These royal figures, considered gods on earth, had access to the best and sometimes the strangest medical treatments of the time. Pharaohs and their court physicians often turned to remedies that blended the practical with the spiritual. One such remedy, the use of honey, was common for its antiseptic properties. Honey was not only a sweet treat, but was applied to wounds and used in eye ointments to ward off infection. However, many royal remedies were deeply rooted in the supernatural. For instance, the pharaohs were known to wear amulets made of precious stones like turquoise, believed to bring healing energy. And they didn't just rely on physical medicine, they had dedicated priests who performed magical incantations to protect them from illness. Some royal treatments included the use of medicinal herbs such as cumin and coriander for digestion or treating headaches, while others involved consuming animal-based medicines. A well-known example is the use of the liver of a black cat, thought to be beneficial for eyesight. Despite their often unconventional nature, these practices highlight the Egyptians' belief that health was just as much a divine gift as it was a physical one. The luxurious garments and accessories of ancient Egyptian pharaohs. Ancient Egyptian pharaohs didn't just rule, they made sure their appearance reflected their supreme status. The garments and accessories they wore weren't just clothing, they were symbols of their divinity and power. Linen was the fabric of choice in ancient Egypt, prized for its lightness and breathability, which made it perfect for the hot, dry climate. Pharaohs often wore finely crafted linen robes, some of which were embroidered with intricate designs or sewn with threads of gold. These robes weren't just for everyday wear, they were ceremonial, designed to elevate the pharaoh to the level of the gods. Accessories, too, were of paramount importance. Pharaohs were decked out in elaborate jewelry made from gold, lapis lazuli, and turquoise, stones thought to have magical properties. The famous names headdress, striped in blue and gold, was an iconic symbol of royal power. Perhaps most remarkable was the use of intricate collars, pectorals, and rings, each of which carried symbolic meaning. These accessories often depicted deities or animals, providing protection and reinforcing the pharaoh's divine status. Scarab beetles, symbols of rebirth, were often used in rings and necklaces to ensure the pharaoh's immortality. The splendor of royal clothing and accessories was a constant reminder that pharaohs were not mere mortals. They were living gods, gods whose grandeur could be seen in every detail of their attire. The sacred rites and ceremonies of the ancient Egyptian pharaohs' afterlife. To the ancient Egyptians, death was just a shift to another life. The pharaohs, regarded as divine beings, believed their journey into the afterlife was just as momentous as their life on earth. Upon death, elaborate ceremonies were held to ensure their safe passage to the realm of the gods. One of the most famous of these was the opening of the mouth ceremony, where priests performed rituals to reanimate the deceased pharaoh's senses, ensuring they could eat, drink, and speak in the afterlife. It was believed that the pharaoh needed these abilities to communicate with the gods and to receive offerings from the living. Mummification was the cornerstone of royal funerary rites. The body of the pharaoh was carefully embalmed, and the organs were removed and placed in canopic jars to preserve them. The heart, considered the seat of the soul, was weighed in the afterlife during the weighing of the heart ceremony. If the heart was found to be lighter than the feather of Mayat, the goddess of truth, the pharaoh's soul would pass into eternal life. In their tombs, pharaohs were buried with treasures, food, and sacred texts like the Book of the Dead, which contained spells and instructions for navigating the dangers of the underworld. These rituals ensured that the pharaohs would be reborn, continuing their divine existence for eternity and maintaining their role as eternal protectors of Egypt. Corruption and power abuse, the hidden world of ancient Egyptian royalty. Now, it's no secret that to build something truly epic, it takes a lot more than just hard work. Ancient Egypt's monumental temples, tombs, and pyramids, they didn't just appear out of nowhere. Behind the grandeur, there was a darker side, one of corruption, greed, and power plays among the elite. The workers, skilled artisans and tomb builders who lived in places like Deir el-Medina were essential to this ancient empire's success, but even they weren't immune to the temptation of dirty deals. Embezzlement, theft, and shady trades of precious materials were the norm, as some sought to pocket profits meant for the pharaoh's grand projects. One of the most jaw-dropping scandals? The harem conspiracy under Ramesses III. High-ranking officials, royal family members, and even the pharaoh's wives plotted to off him and take over the throne. They thought they could pull off this assassination and snatch the crown, but the plot was exposed, leaving the conspirators to face justice. Then there's the whole religious manipulation thing. Priests, especially those of Amun, used their sacred positions to stack their own wealth, often diverting offerings from the faithful to line their pockets. This abuse of power wasn't just a betrayal of trust, it shook the very foundation of Egypt's spiritual system. Despite all this, reform efforts popped up from time to time. Hatshepsut, for example, tried to clean up the bureaucracy, but corruption was always lurking, ready to rear its ugly head in the shadows of the royal courts. What do you think about Egyptian pharaohs now? Well, let us know in the comment below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.